I'm Mike McMahon from Mike McMahon Studio, and I'm working on the Subaru Cocoon Garden. I've been working for quite a long time within architecture and also in landscape design. But 2.5 years ago, Julesy and I set up our own practice, and part of what we wanted to do was not just to work in architecture, but to work in interiors, design furniture like this, and then move into things like landscape and gardens and kind of wrap them all together. And some of the kind of pillars of our practice are sustainability and urban greening, and tackling things like climate change, and bringing in nature and weaving greenery into design. Is myself and Julesy have lived here for a number of years, and we have designed and built pretty much everything in our home, from the sofa to the chairs to the chair I'm sitting on, to dining tables, to the cabinet behind me. There's not many things that we haven't made in our home. And we also have our junglet balcony behind us, which was the inspiration for our junglet balcony at Chelsea Flower Show last year, which won a gold medal at the show. The inspiration behind the concept of our garden, myself and Julesy have travelled all over the world, and we have been in jungles in the Amazon, in India, in different African countries. And we've always been so inspired to be immersed in these spaces. But then when we found out that there's actually a rainforest in the UK, we felt we really needed to highlight it, particularly because it originally covered 20% of the UK, and it's now down to 1%. But I'd also started to notice over a number of years the subtle differences between a rainforest in the UK and just a more normal forest. And one of our favourite places to be is in wilderness, and I feel like it's one of the few landscapes in Britain that is really truly wild. And you go into it, there's fallen tree trunks which are covered in moss, and you step like over or under these. And we wanted to kind of bring that to a garden to show people that there's manicured forests that you've been to in the UK, but this is what true wilderness is. One of the things that I find absolutely fascinating about Subaru is 95% of the vehicle can be recycled. And I just find that so amazing, because you think about not the first life, but you're also thinking about the second life. And I suppose you could draw that back to our garden, and how we operate as a practice. We often think about the first life of design and the second life. And there's something really amazing as a company that you think about that bit after, I think is brilliant. And the circularity of all of that. And so when I think about the garden, we've thought about exactly the same as that. How can we do the garden at Hampton and have minimum waste? We're using brick that's completely recycled from recycled material, has really low embodied carbon. So I think that's the thing that makes me really excited about, the fact that we're being sponsored, but also, having an electric car with zero emissions. It's not just one element, it's so multi-layered, and it feels like the garden and Subaru, it feels like the two of them are really, really joined and connected, which is great. We start off by doing a pencil sketch of a design, and I like to think that we reverse engineer from the sketch to figure out how the whole thing is put together. So we started with some really simple sketches of the garden. One of the things I noticed in Hampton Court before is that sometimes the gardens are quite open, and you could look across the garden and see somebody eating an ice cream. And I found that like slightly distracting, because I wanted my focus to be on, this is a beautiful garden, here are all the plants, this is so amazing. So our starting point then was, well, let's do a walled garden And wall gardens have been in Britain for hundreds and hundreds of years, and everybody loves going into the wall garden. In a traditional wall garden, it's always this like solid enclosure where you can't kind of look in or out, which has the mystery. But Jules's heritage is from India, and in India they have this thing called a jali wall, which is to kind of provide a buffer for daylight. And so we thought, let's do this sculptural wrap of a jali wall where we step the brick almost like this, so you can kind of see through it and the plants can just kind of weave their way out through the gaps, but also like daylight trickles through as well. And then, well, what do we fill it with? So we thought, well, let's fill it with plants from the temperate rainforest, huge ferns to this size, and then have all these epiphytes just kind of continuing around on the wall, and then a few trees just punching up, and then little blasts of colour of foxgloves, and then to create that real otherness and proper wilderness, have big massive tree trunks covered in moss just spilling around that you kind of duck in and under, which just puts the cherry on top. For individuals in their own garden to do their part in raising awareness for the climate crisis and assisting, it's about looking at what sort of species you could have in your garden that are native or add a bit more or stitch into the local web of plants and animals that are in their area. All the planting that has been selected are all native species that really supports biodiversity, right from the tallest plant to the smallest plant. So looking at bringing in oak trees or silver birch, because they're really, really good at supporting multiple species. And then other elements, water is a huge thing in a garden. So for frogs and other species, having ponds in your garden, they're huge. It brings in so many different species. So it's all these little things, having wood piles that are in a corner that are just rotting away. They're brilliant for insects, and possibly putting up bird boxes and bat boxes to support wildlife. And we just wanted to demonstrate that you don't need to pluck in these exotic species from around the world. We have it here on our doorstep, and we should try to encourage it a bit more and use it a bit more. So we would like the garden to just be like a roadmap or a toolkit for them to say, I could have a little bit of this, or I have a little bit of that, and add a little bit of UK natives into their own space. So that's what we would like people to take away. If you don't have respect and an understanding, how can you know what you need to protect? Nature is not us here, nature's over there. That the two of us need to be kind of intertwined. One of my favorite places to go on a road trip in the UK would be to Devon, because when you head down into Devon and then you drive down through country lanes, there's just ferns from here up to the ceiling just kind of floating down, and you're just in a tunnel of nature, and you just get foxgloves just exploding everywhere, and it just is absolutely stunning. And it really has that kind of otherness to it as well. When I think of the different colors of Solterra, I think my favorite color is midnight black, because it's just really beautiful as it kind of moves through the countryside, and just how the greenery of the countryside really pops against the black.